My name is Dave Warren, and I'm a clinical herbalist right here at the New Mexico Herbal Clinic. Today, I want to talk to you about stinging nettle, which is actually more than a weed. In fact, it's one of our favorite herbs ever. And as we go through this short presentation, you'll come to understand why. First off, I should tell you that it's considered a nourishing herb, which is really, really important for us. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what some of the studies are now showing on stinging nettle. So, stinging nettle is closely related to another nettle called Eurytica urens, and both actually have a long medical history in medieval Europe. It was used as a diuretic back then to rid the body of excess water and to treat joint pain. So the plant has fine hairs on the leaves and the stems that contain irritating chemicals, which are released when the plant comes into contact with the skin. The hairs or the spines of the stinging nettle are normally extremely painful to the touch. When they come in contact with a painful area on your body, however, they can actually decrease the original pain. Now, for a long time, we didn't know how that worked, but scientists think nettle does that by reducing levels of inflammatory chemicals in the body and by interfering with the way the body transmits pain signals. So, in a sense, it could also be considered a nervine herb when we look at it in that context. So, general uses. Well, stinging nettle has been used for hundreds of years, and actually thousands if we go back to Chinese medicine, to treat painful muscles, joints, eczema, arthritis, gout, and anemia. Pretty amazing, huh, for just one plant? But there's going to be a lot more as we go through this presentation. Today, many people, and especially clinical herbalists, also use it to treat urinary problems during early stages of an enlarged prostate. And you probably know that as being referred to as BPH. It's also used for urinary tract infections, hay fever, or in compresses or creams that you can rub into a painful joint, and for sprains and strains, tendinitis, and even for insect bites. So let's talk about BHP, which seems to be prevalent among a lot of males, American males in particular, over the age of 50. So studies in people are now suggesting that stinging nettle, in combination with other herbs, especially saw palmetto, may well be effective at relieving symptoms such as a reduced urinary flow, incomplete emptying of the bladder, post-urination dripping, and the constant urge to urinate. Now, those symptoms are caused by the enlarged prostate gland, which is now pressing on urethra, which is the tube that empties urine from a male's bladder. Some studies suggest that stinging nettle is comparable to finasteride, which is a medication commonly prescribed for BHP, in slowing the growth of certain prostate cells. However, unlike the pharmaceutical drug, the herb does not decrease prostate size, but relieves the symptoms. Now, with a clinical herbalist, there are some other herbs that they can formulate along with stinging nettle, which will help decrease the size of the bladder. So scientists aren't really sure why nettle root reduces these symptoms. And they say it may be because it contains chemicals that affect hormones. Now, those hormones would be testosterone and estrogen. Or they theorize because it acts directly on prostate cells. So it's really important to work with a clinical herbalist or other integrative medicine health professionals to treat BHP and make sure that you get a proper diagnosis just so you can rule out prostate cancer. Osteoarthritis. So historically, the leaves and stems of nettle have been used to treat arthritis, and as we said earlier, to relieve sore muscles. There have been extensive studies and peer reviews to clarify this claim. They suggest that some people find relief from joint pain by applying the nettle leaf topically to the painful area. However, that's probably not something that I would recommend. I'm more in the business of giving you painless pain relief. And if you apply a raw stinging nettle leaf, you're also going to get the stinging effect of the plant. So other studies have shown that taking an oral extract of the stinging nettle along with some anti-inflammatory drugs, it may help people reduce their prescription drug dosage. And I would go one step further. Some of the studies that we have done have shown that if we take an oral extract of stinging nettle along with a cream comprised with stinging nettle, we can reduce the pain and soreness from osteoarthritis in a natural method. Hay fever. Everybody seems to have hay fever in the spring, right? And some people have it almost year round. And one preliminary study suggested that nettle capsules help reduce sneezing and itching in people with hay fever. In another study, 57% of patients rated nettles as effective in relieving allergies, and 48% said that nettles were more effective than the allergy medications they had previously used. So we're beginning to see that nettle has an awful lot of uses. When it comes to reducing hay fever, there are some other herbs that at the New Mexico Herbal Clinic, we actually combine with nettle to give you an overall release from the miseries of hay fever. So researchers think that it may be due to nettle's ability to reduce the amount of histamine that the body produces in response to an allergen. And our bodies produce histamine to help fight an allergen. The side effects of that histamine, of course, are the runny nose, the scratchy throat, the watery eyes, and so forth. So we really do need a few more studies to confirm nettle's antihistamine properties. And some doctors are now recommending taking a freeze-dried preparation of stinging nettle well before hay fever season starts. I have a little bit of a problem with that because, as with anything, we can build up a tolerance to almost anything in nature. So if we start taking it before the hay fever season starts, it may not be as effective during the hay fever season. We much prefer that our clients take it during the hay fever season and even after the hay fever season, because as I said, some of them will suffer as many as 8 to 10 months of hay fever and allergies, and others may even go year round. But here's something that is now being studied about stinging nettle, something we've known for a while, but now medical doctors are starting to take a look at this. And that is that the preliminary animal studies have indicated that nettle may also aid in lowering blood sugar and blood pressure. So even as we learn more about this herb on the medical side, these are things that many herbalists and certainly clinical herbalists have known for quite a while. So how can you take nettle? Well, it's available as a dried leaf, a freeze-dried leaf. You can get it in an extract, capsules, tablets, and even as a root tincture, which is a solution made from the root of the herb in an alcohol base. You can also get it as a juice, and you can get it as a tea. As I said earlier, it also comes in the form of an ointment or cream that can be applied to the skin. Now, the root appears to have some different pharmacological effects than the leaves. So, depending on what you're looking at nettle for, you need to consult someone in the profession to find out exactly what you need. Is it the leaves? Is it the root? And so forth. There are some precautions, as with everything. Now, the use of herbs, of course, is a time-honored approach to strengthening the body and treating disease. However, herbs can trigger side effects, and they can interact with other herbs, supplements, or medications you may be on. For these reasons, you should take herbs with care under the supervision of either a doctor or a alternative medicine healthcare provider. And certainly we are able to accommodate that at the New Mexico Herbal Clinic. Stinging nettle is considered generally safe when it's used as directed. Occasional side effects could occur, and they would include mild stomach upset, a little bit of fluid retention, perhaps some sweating, and some diarrhea. Rarely we have seen people that have a rash. That usually occurs if they're using it topically. Now, it's important if you decide to go out and just pick some stinging nettle, be really careful, because when you touch that plant, it can cause an allergic rash, and it should never, ever be applied to an open wound. Also, because nettle can alter the menstrual cycle, it could contribute to miscarriage, so pregnant women should not use nettle. Interesting to note that it can alter the menstrual cycle, which in some cases is something that a client may need to have happen. But if you're pregnant, don't take nettle. Never, ever, ever self-treat yourself with nettle for BHP. There is some evidence that stinging nettle may raise blood sugar and interfere with diabetes management. So if you're a diabetic, always consult with a professional before even considering nettle. There's also evidence that it can lower blood sugar. So it could raise or it could lower. And that really depends on the client, the person, the patient. One of the reasons that an intake at the New Mexico Herbal Clinic can take as long as 2 hours is because we want to be certain you are going to get the right herbal preparation you need. And stinging nettle can have a diuretic effect. We obviously use that in a lot of our clients because that's what they're looking for, especially if they have some of the symptoms of BHP. But if you have a kidney or bladder issue, make sure you speak with a professional before starting any stinging nettle supplement. And finally, our disclaimer. In the United States, the FDA does not certify, endorse, nor test herbs for their medical value. Information provided in this presentation is for educational purposes only. You are encouraged to speak with a healthcare professional before starting on any herbal supplements or treatments. And the New Mexico Herbal Clinic has professionals on staff that can help you with that. I want to thank you for listening to this. If you have any questions Or if you would like to see a clinical herbalist, give us a call at the New Mexico Herbal Clinic. You can find out more about us and our phone numbers online at nmherbalclinic.com. Once again, that's nmherbalclinic.com. And thank you for watching.